There have been some major headlines going around Raptors land today regarding Dennis Schroder's apparent frustration coming off the bench for the Toronto Raptors. So we'll break down all the reports that are stemming from this, whether or not I actually buy it, given all the context to what's been going on with Dennis Schroder's sort of start to his Toronto Raptors career, and whether or not it's a good thing that Dennis is being brought off the pine. Because frankly, I think it's been a massive, massive help for this Toronto Raptors team. So lots of stuff to dive into, but before we do that, folks, we are very close to 32,000 subscribers, and still with the new influx of viewership, and we appreciate everyone that's checking out the vids, but over 57% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so it would mean the world to me. If you guys are new to the channel and you're enjoying those daily Toronto Raptors updates, if you guys could hit that subscribe button, hit that goal of 32,000 subscribers. And also, I apologize if I sound weird in this video. Got a bit of a sore throat, so we're fighting through it though, because there's some wild stuff going on around Toronto Raptors land today, and specifically all the stuff regarding Schroder, as I mentioned in the intro. Basically, this is one of the major reports that have been getting tweeted around, people are reacting to, that Dennis Schroder was reportedly wanted to lead his own team and was apparently unhappy about coming off the bench in Toronto prior to the Immanuel Quckley trade. So this is coming from Michael Grange, and obviously when Michael Grange sort of makes articles, he's a guy that's definitely locked in the Toronto Raptors community, has access to the front office, but he has frankly been wrong a lot of times in the past. So figuring out sort of what's right and what's wrong out of these Michael Grange reports is kind of an art. I'm definitely not perfect at it. No one really is in Toronto Raptors world, but this is definitely an interesting headline because Schroder has really been handed this Toronto Raptors team. He has been gifted that starting, maybe not gifted, he's earned it with his performance. The Lakers got a solid contract and was given the opportunity to be the starting point guard for this Raptors group. But time and time again over the course of Dennis Schroder's career, he's he's had some bad stints as a starter, but he's shown to be a solid starter in the NBA. Definitely not horrific or horrible by any means, but he's most best utilized coming off the bench for some teams, whatever he's on, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the LA Lakers, whatever group he's sort of with, he seems to be best utilized coming off the bench, given his speed, given the spark he provides to the game. He's capable at finishing games as well, and the Toronto Raptors seemingly have given Dennis Schroder a lot of opportunity. So people are turning their heads and saying he's frustrated. What's going on with this? Well, let's dive into the broader context of this report. Basically, Michael Grange started talking the article about former Toronto Raptors point guards, and then brought to Dennis Schroder, and that the Toronto Raptors' decision to bring the veteran point guard off the bench, a choice that predated the acquisition of Immanuel Quckley. If you guys don't remember, he was coming off the bench for I believe 1 or 2 games prior to the OG Anunoby trade, as the Raptors experimented with Scotty Barnes as their lead ball handler, but it seems set in stone now that Quckley is in the fold and the team's point guard is present in the future. So again, Immanuel Quckley, there's no world, there's no argument that he should be coming off the bench. He's a lot younger. He's a guy that's put up some remarkable stats as a starter over the course of his career. He's an elite three-point shooter. He's a bit better of a defender. Immanuel Quckley is an elite up-and-coming guard. Fits that Scotty Barnes timeline. There's no real sense to move him to the bench, given also his free agency situation and things like that. So Schroder, if he's kind of frustrated with Immanuel Quckley, that's going to be a lose-lose battle. But the article goes on to say that Dennis brings a lot of energy, or Darko ended up saying that Dennis brings a lot of energy to everything that we do, said Rajakovic. He's trying to play the right way on the offensive end. He's disruptive defensively, and his mentality and his force is something that really rubs off on guys very well. So obviously, we also know how tight Darko Rajakovic and Dennis Schroder are. They had a relationship prior to their teaming up here on the Toronto Raptors, the Oklahoma City Thunder. When Dennis Schroder signed with the Toronto Raptors, contrary to what this article will say, Schroder said that the main sort of selling point for Toronto was Darko Rajakovic and his relationship with him there. So we know those guys are tight. We know the positives they're going to say in the media to each other. But it goes on to say, this is where the articles, those headlines are being pulled from, that Schroder wasn't exactly happy with his decision to bring him off the bench prior to the trade, according to sources. One of the reasons he signed with the Toronto Raptors in free agency this past summer was the prospect of having his own team to run after coming off the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers last season and the Boston Celtics prior to that. So basically, this frustration is stemming from the fact he's moved to the bench. He signed with Toronto to have that opportunity. If you recall, immediately after Fred VanVleet signed with the Houston Rockets, Dennis Schroder was brought in to be that guy, to run the ship for the Toronto Raptors, and now he's moved to the bench. And I get that logic. I get how that can be kind of pieced together. But I'll give my opinions before we get through the whole context of the article. Basically, it goes on to say, but with the decision now made, Schroeder's willing to make it work as he gets prepared to face his old team, the LA Lakers, who we face off tomorrow without Jakob Poeltl. Darko went on to say that he was thinking about doing a change and he knows how effective Dennis Schroder is in any role. Schroeder said that regarding Darko Rajakovic. And basically, he always found his way, whatever it takes the organization to win. I'll do it. He knows that, and what I want is to win every single night. That's the best feeling ever. Just keep going every single chance I get on the court to do the right things. So basically, the direct quotes, the things that are coming out from Darko as well as Dennis Schroder, they're both happy with this change. They're both happy with this adjustment as long as it leads to winning. So it's been leading to winning. So I don't know why there's the hidden animosity or frustration. I definitely get that maybe Schroder was a bit, perplexed, maybe a little bit not eager to move to the bench prior to the OG Anunoby trade when we didn't have a clear-cut sort of point guard starting ahead of him. But now that Quickley is there, the writing's on the wall. It does make a lot more sense having Schroeder on the bench now here at this point, fulfilling a role that he's been a lot better at. So this is something that I think the frustration stuff is getting a little bit leaned into, and Grange didn't do himself any favors with how he sort of marketed this article, saying it wasn't his choice to move to the bench or anything along those lines. But basically, Dennis Schroeder, for all those things, I get why he might be frustrated. And as I said, you could piece things together and get that sort of frustration, but I don't think it makes any sense for him to be frustrated with his actual role with the Toronto Raptors. Again, it might be a little bit head turning and a little bit worrisome for him initially once this move happens, because frankly, Dennis Schroeder has been at times underutilized off the bench, particularly with his tenure with the Boston Celtics, and even early on in his tenure with the second stint with the LA Lakers, wasn't getting a lot of run off the bench. But Darko's been doing a really good job at keeping his minutes extremely high, playing him kind of the right amount. Some people are saying he's still playing a little bit too much, especially in those fourth quarters. But Dennis Schroeder, this season with the Toronto Raptors is, and this is some praise from Boucher off the bench and stuff, but basically, Dennis Schroeder is putting up some pretty solid numbers, some career numbers with the Raptors, 14.6 points per game, 7 assists, which is a real nice jump up, shooting pretty solid from behind the three-point line at 35%, so Schroeder's been good. Schroeder's been really, really good. Again, I'm bringing these up out of order, but Boucher had some high praise for how, Schroeder's been able to run that bench unit. The Raptors have had a lack of point guard depth over the past couple years, so it's nice to have Quickley and Schroeder, so we don't have a point where we're point guard less out there on the court. And then Schroeder says at the end of the day, it's whatever it takes to win the basketball game. So for me to be there at the end of games to impact winning whenever I'm on the floor, that's what's most important. And he's been closing games to the Toronto Raptors. Some people are frustrated with that because RJ has been getting a lot of run in the fourth, but you can't really go wrong with Quickley, Schroeder, or RJ based on how the games are going. Obviously, you play the two players that are probably playing the best, and he's a guy that, even though he's not going to be starting right now, that's kind of set in stone, he might be ending games when it's sort of warranted. So there's all those positives. He still has a tight relationship with Darko. He's not going to get screwed over by a coach that he has a tight relationship with. And the final thing is, too, Schroeder's been handed the offense this season. The end of games right now, with the exception of Immanuel Quckley, in terms of field goal attempts per the fourth quarter, at the close of games where Dennis Schroeder said he sort of wants those opportunities to be out there on the court. Schroeder right now has taken the second most shots, outside of Quickley, who has a small sample size, but ahead of Pascal Siakam, ahead of OG Anunoby when he's here, ahead of Gary Trent Jr. Dennis Schroeder's taken the second most shots for this Toronto Raptors team on average per game in the fourth quarter of these games. So, Schroeder, he's still getting that opportunity. He's still getting those sort of runs. The frustration argument, I don't think, makes a lot of sense. And given the context, I don't think it's something where he's speaking out. He's vocal about how disappointed he is about this role. He may have been a little bit concerned about or frustrated once it initially happened, but still, the fact that he's taken the most shots behind Scotty Barnes in the fourth quarter, but before Immanuel Quickley was sort of brought in, and the fact that he's still getting that fourth quarter run and given those opportunities, I think everything will be fine. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Very close to 32,000 subscribers. I'm signing out. Cheers.